There will be some editing, probably. We'll put everything in reverse.
You're listening to episode 77 of Time to Lean, and here's a song with Phil and John and their special guest, Kerry J. Drummer, extraordinaire, and raconteur. I'm Ed Unclehat. Enjoy.
It's a good thing because our guest tonight is
John Kerry. No,
John
sorry.
Kerry, the former he wasn't president.
Well, you know, that's funny because I have a button in my office that says Minnesota Women for Kerry. And I like that. You know, Minnesota Women for Kerry. Why not?
It's Kerry J.
Makes me feel good. Spelled the same way, Kerry.
And Minnesota
Do you want
Women.
you want your last name used or your initial? I don't know if it matters, but
We just
No,
say
you can use my whole name. It's so generic, it could be anybody.
yeah. Okay, Kerry Johnson.
And not the NPR reporter of the same name and spelling. It's a woman, though. So I have I have one of those names that can be used for both genders.
There's a joke there. I can't wait.
That's right.
or any gender.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, okay. Kerry's the original wokester. Well, welcome, Kerry. It's great to have
Thank
you
you.
on.
Thank you. I'm a big fan. I've actually listened to, I don't know, how many have you done of these? 77? 76?
Oh, yes. This is our
This is 77.
Well,
Have you listened to this one yet? How did
77?
it go?
I listened to the last one.
Well, then you
but-
are a fan.
I haven't listened to all of them from number
Well,
one.
no. Either have I. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I learned a lot. It was kind of interesting. You guys cover a lot of territory.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Sometimes more than others.
That's what happens when you don't have much of a theme or topic.
Well, and sometimes it's okay just to mark your territory, but that's different.
Yeah.
Speaking of
that,
which, John,
I've got to keep an eye on my dog. I was gonna lock her up, but lock her up. I was gonna.
What about her emails,
No,
John?
it's terrible. Yeah, Birdie's emails. Title.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, that's bad. No, I was gonna put her in a crate, and I just didn't.
Well, she'll join in sometimes.
I'm outside on the deck, so I'm kind of letting her roam free.
Well, she'll be like one of those kids on those Zoom calls that comes running in, you know. And
She has made appearances before. Trust me. Yeah.
I love that. I love the work when a work meeting is interrupted by kids or animals. This makes it go better.
or the cat overlay over your head or whatever that. Remember that? There was some guy giving a
Oh, yeah.
dissertation to a judge, and this cat head came on, like his ears appeared on him. It
His
was hard to
kid
get
had
a
set up some
serious point
filter.
across at that point.
His kids had set up some filter before he
That
got
cat's
on.
out of order.
Right, and he couldn't figure out how to turn it off.
It's like, really, I'm not a cat.
Yeah.
Well, Kerry, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like an elevator speech or something like that?
Oh, boy.
Who am us? Who I know you've.
Well, I think that one of the main connections I have with John and you is music. You know, I've been a professional musician for, wow. I started playing when I was 10 for money. And I'm now like
money.
well over that. I'm collecting Social Security, so that kind of gives you an idea. Yeah, I was born in upstate New York in the Binghamton area, home of Rod Serling.
You've entered the Time to Lean zone.
And
Ooh.
and Johnny Hart, the guy that did the BC comics. I don't know if you remember. Did those go national? BC?
BC, like
He was like
Oh,
a
yeah.
caveman.
The caveman.
BC?
Yeah, BC.
Oh,
Yeah.
the comic strip.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
I
comic
remember
strip,
that.
funny
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a good friend of my drum teachers. I took private drum lessons in Binghamton. And on the inside of the studio wall was all of these Johnny Hart original cartoons having to do with drumming. And they were one of a kind. They must have been worth something. I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember one, there was a guy with drumsticks all through the drum heads. And the byline was, "Magnificent solo, Higgins." And it was some, like the conductor was saying, you know, "Magnificent solo." And everything's all broken and drumsticks everywhere. It was kind of fun. But I grew up there until I was 18, and then I graduated from high school, went to a year of college, and then I decided to get the heck out of Dodge and head west, young man, like Horace Greeley said. I think it was Horace Greeley. And I got a letter from my drum teacher from the union, and he said, I've taught you everything I know. When you go to California, just give this to the union and, you might get a job. So I landed in Santa Barbara, which is still one of my favorite all-time places on earth. And it was around end of December. I put in my name at the union. I got a call within 2 days for a New Year's Eve gig at the Ojai Country Club.
Oh,
And
hi.
2 days after hanging out your musical shingle.
Yes, and that's kind of the way it's been with me my whole life. It's been really amazing. So the guy who called me his name was Dave Davidson, and he was head of a big band during World War II that actually backed up Judy Garland. And he had bandstands with DD, superimposed on them. And he says, hey, I have a gig at the Ojai Country Club with some ex-studio musicians who play with me. Would you be interested? I said, absolutely. So he showed up in a Ford Pinto with a big string bass in the back.
This is a great story. One of your classics.
Yeah. And I'm like, how am I going to fit my drums in here? He goes, oh, we'll make it work. So I actually stuffed my drums in that thing. I don't know how we did it. And we wound our way up the mountain to Ojai, which is just above Santa Barbara. And it was at a country club, so we played, and it was awesome because these studio musicians were what seemed to me be old cats, but they were probably like younger than me now. But they were really, really good. And here I am, 18,
Wow.
And we're playing this music, and we're getting paid really well. And they go, okay, next gig's at the Biltmore Hotel. I'm like, okay, and the next gig's at the Old Mill, and so. Anyway, we played all these fantastic venues and with these fantastic musicians. And then I went to school, went to Santa Barbara City College, and then I took a big credit load. So I really didn't have a lot of time to, I had to study. So I said, hey guys, I'm going to have to take a break, and really, man, we're just getting going. You're going to go back to school. I'm like, hey, I need, school is important, and they go, yeah, we know. So anyway, I went off to school, and then, I didn't gig with them much anymore. And then, I went down to, one story leads to another, but, this is going to be, how long is this podcast? No.
Hour 3.
But anyway, yeah,
Of the
I've
Kerry
already
J
taken
special.
up all of my time, but anyway, suffice it to
Don't
say,
worry about it.
It's the Kerry Johnson comeback special. Right?
yeah, exactly. But
Starring Donny Osmond and Yul Brenner.
I saw an ad for a guy who did one of these, one of the first guys to do this overdubbing where you play piano and then you get up and you walk around the nightclub while you're singing to this disembodied, the piano that nobody's playing at, but it was you. And I was watching him, and at the end of the set, he comes up to me and goes, hey, are you a musician? And I said, yeah. I mean, he's why? And he said, well, because the way you're looking at me, And I said, well, you are kind of cute. No. I said, I said, well, yeah. He said, well, where are you from? I am a musician. I'm a drummer. I sing, And he says, well, where are you from? I said, Binghamton, New York. And his mouth just drops. And he goes, I'm from Binghamton, New York. And I said, are you kidding me? This is Goleta, California, like on the other coast. And he goes, well, so who did you play with out there? Anybody I know? And I said, yeah, a guy named George Lowsinger. And his jaw dropped another 5 inches. This is the guy who taught him how to play piano.
He's starting to look like a BC cartoon at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe Hagar the Horrible.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, he invites me to dinner that night, and blah, blah, blah. One thing leads to another. So that was just one of those wonderful serendipitous thing that keeps happening to me with music. So then I went to LA, moved to LA, started working for a guy doing recording of, industrial stuff, voiceovers, some music, jingles. And then I started playing drums on numerous anonymous, unnamed, industrial stuff. And then the guy one night the engineer goes, hey, do you want to learn Pro Tools? And I'm like, what's that? He goes, it's like, you can do the volume graphing for me, and you can do this and that. So he taught me bit by bit. So then pretty soon I got pretty good at Pro Tools, and then I went work on the other side of the glass. So sometimes I'd lay down drum tracks, sometimes I'd actually record them.
I have to interject. Kerry learned software bit by bit.
Oh,
Sorry.
ooh.
Okay, continue
Well,
on. That was not worth interrupting your story
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, but I started an analog with a Revox A77 doing razor blade cuts and
Yeah,
quarter-inch shape. And I did so many that my edit-all edit block got a groove in it, like old monastery stairs of the 16th century. That so many feet had been on. I
Were
think
you
I
also
absorbed.
a copyist of ancient texts?
Yes, yeah, well, kinda. Yeah, so and Studer, we had a big old Scully with those. They took those 15-inch platters, and
All those
when you
lathes.
rewound them, they got up to 500,000 RPMs. And so if you backed into it, it would saw a hole in your pants. I mean, one
So
time,
many good lines coming out. I love it.
one time
I'm
we
not
had a
gonna know how to
Revoxes
choose.
mounted, face up, and we were sitting there in the control room, and it's rewinding, and all of a sudden we hear this click, click, and the spindle slipped. The lock spindle slipped, and everybody that kind of thought hit the dirt. So everybody kind of gets down, and the reel goes zing, goes.
And these are
flying.
those big 10-inch metal reels.
Yeah,
right?
the metal RMLs.
Oh.
Yeah, it goes flying across the room and
deadly.
barely, misses decapitating one of us. Anyway, and it left a big gash in the wall too.
At least you weren't throwing a plate of ketchup at the wall.
Oh, yes, I didn't
Oh,
even
here
have
we-
ketchup. That would
No,
have
no,
got
we try
wild.
not to get political, but
Yes.
people love their
We
ketchup.
try.
Yeah, so I worked in LA for blah blah blah. I don't know, many years, and then my mother had a physical ailment that necessitated her to move to Montana for the atmosphere or the air or whatever. I don't know, whatever. And I was kind of done with LA because that was when people were shooting each other on the freeway and the air was getting bad, and my kids were going up to high school to school age, and I'm like, time to get out of LA. So I moved to Montana.
That sounds like a Frank Zappa song or something.
Yeah, well, I did play at the El Monte, what is it, Legion or Elks Club or whatever he references to.
Cool.
Yeah, I did, the real thing. And then I joined a cowboy band and did yodeling harmonies and played guitar and rodeos. We did a lot of Riders in the Sky.
Oh, yeah.
You are coming to the Big Top Chautauqua, by the way, in
Cool water.
I think September. Yeah. Cool, clear water, that kind of stuff.
I love that song.
And so was there for 10 years. Played rodeos, did audio work, played drums in country. Now going to country music, I got into that
And Western.
And Western. We did both. Yes. And George Strait, and all those guys. Travis, what was his name?
Crit?
Not Travis
Frit?
Tritt, the other guy.
Travis.
The guy did.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember his name now.
Randy Travis.
No.
Anyway,
whatever.
and then
the Travis guy.
I moved from Montana to Minnesota. My mom passed away. I was in a career change. The company I was working for was doing something else, and I said, "Okay, I'm taking my kids, everybody, without any job, and moving to Minneapolis because my friend had a company in Lake Elmo doing aromatherapy. Like he made these little perfume dispersers that they put in ceilings of casinos and shopping malls that squirted out this organic scent like pine and citrus and stuff, and it drew people in, and people paid millions of dollars for these systems, and he traveled all over the world installing these things. Anyway, interesting story.
I thought they just pumped at casinos. I thought they just pumped in like cigarette smoke or something.
Yeah, it's stale upholstery and beer and
Old grease.
Spilt beer.
And
maybe
and
an
like
accident or
stinky
two.
dog playing poker paintings and stuff.
Or the favorite scent, all you can eat buffet.
Right.
Well, okay, before we get into how you two met, I've met Kerry. I keep wanting to call you John. I don't know why. Kerry. But before we get into that kind of thing, what are we got to get into the thing? Got to get what are you drinking?
What are we drinking
We do
tonight?
have some themes.
Kerry, what do you have a beverage, and if so, what is it?
I do, and it's really cheap. It's it's just a straight up ginger ale and Windsor, which is about
Windsor.
the most basic thing you could possibly
Is that
drink,
called
but
like something like a ginger or
a ginger?
It's like
Yeah.
a little ginger instead of a big ginger.
Ginger.
No, I do
No,
have
that's what Windsor is really made for, though.
That's what it's for. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
mixer.
It's good.
It
in
was
that.
made for ginger ale.
or
mixing of
or
anything.
anything.
Sure.
Yeah, Coke
It's like the well.
7-Up.
Yeah,
No, that's a good day for it. It's hot here in Minnesota.
on
tonight.
ice. I have ice. And
No, nothing wrong
Oh,
with
that
that.
sounds
Do you put a
refreshing.
little lime in that or not?
No, it's just straight.
Just right
the
that
way
way.
it is.
Okay.
I didn't even put any water in it. It's just straight on ice.
It's something they would serve at the Montana Elks.
Exactly.
Legion, whatever.
Elks and Legion clubs. The bars are so good because we play. I played in various bands that play these places, and you get really great pours for really reasonable amounts of money.
Yeah, I've never played at
those good working class.
Yeah, and it's still the same booze you get at some high class place. I mean, many times, Bombay Sapphire is Bombay Sapphire, or whatever. Glenlivet is the Glenlivet. I mean,
I've drank at some of those places. I know what you mean.
so they're a real deal, as far as I'm concerned.
not highfalutin.
Mm-mm.
No,
Well,
you get
don't have to pay
value for your money.
$18. Yeah, exactly.
I am doing a gin and tonic.
All right.
It's warm. I'm doing this. It's Fever Tree. Well, that's kind of my favorite go-to tonic at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking Hendrick's gin, but it's the Neptunia variety. It's one
Is
of their
that the one
special
that glows in the
edition
dark
ones.
or something?
That's no, that's another. I can't remember what it's called. It's one of that dark blue bottle.
Oh, it's probably Luna.
Well,
It's the one that has the
Fluorescent.
botanicals that only bloom at night. I think that's the gimmick. But, yeah, arachnophobia or whatever it's called. But
Pat's a big G&T fan, and she loves Beef Eater of all things.
a lot of people say that's a really good, solid.
She doesn't like it. She likes it better than Bombay, Tanqueray, any of that. She just gives me a Beef Eater.
And Pat's your lady
retry
friend.
that.
Yeah, Pat's the one who introduced me
special
to
lady.
single malt Scotch, which is
There you
kind of
go.
interesting.
Everybody's got to share responsibility.
I'm drinking a Northeast beer.
All right.
Actually, I already finished it. I'm moving on to probably some sort of Jim Beam later, but whatever.
Jimbo.
I like Northeast.
Northeast Grain Belt.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
I like amber
that's good.
beers. Northeast is. I don't usually get it. I like other kind of amber beers better, but Northeast has kind of a. It almost tastes like there's two beers. It's like they put something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Grain Belt, half Grain Belt, and half something else. I can't quite figure
Yeah,
it
you're
out.
right. It's not citrusy, but it's different. It's different than most. It's a little bit sour to me, a little bit, just a little tiny bit. It's
It's
different
got a
than
little more
other-
flavor than a Grain
Yeah,
Belt, but
mhm.
but
That's
there's
not
nothing
hard.
better like after doing yard work or something on a hot day than the original Grain Belt.
Mhm.
If I'm going to get a lager or whatever, Grain Belt has, I'm not going to go get a Bud Light or something.
I think it's funny how some of the cheap beers have gotten hip again, like back when PBR, was
Hams.
Hams, sort of. You see that, and the one that I see more often now is that is it Coors Banquet or whatever? Have you seen that stuff?
The champagne of beers or whatever.
Yeah, it's that. It's
I
a
thought that was
retro
Miller
looking-
High Life.
It's Miller. You're right. It's
That's right. Right.
Miller Banquet. I the first time I saw it in a TV show, like modern TV show, the main guy in Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid Netflix show, good show by the way. He drinks it all the time in that show. It's really funny, but they're sort of mocking it, like he's this just loser who drinks Banquet.
It was always in those big V, classic beer glasses, right, with the bubbles shining.
Yeah.
It's got a distinctive shaped bottle though. It's like a squat.
Oh, that's right.
Brown bottle.
Schlitz is another one that came back with its original recipe.
And I remember
about
Schlitz
5 or
growing
6
up
years
in
ago.
those solid white cans with the kind of maroon Schlitz logo on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
We
I
didn't
had
have
one.
that in Rapid City, did we, John?
I remember seeing it. I was too young to drink it at the time. The one I
No.
always saw at the family picnics that I'm sure was just the cheapest shit they could get was Old Milwaukee.
Yes, Old Mill. I was just going to say that.
That stuff was just
Oh.
everywhere.
Like a 48 pack for $5 or
Yeah,
something.
you'd
It's
see that
crazy.
at the picnic. The two things I recall are, it's funny. This came up with my wife recently because we were talking about going on picnics. I don't know why, but um, my family used to do a thing where on a Sunday during the summer we would go out into the Black Hills and go to a park with usually another family, group, and bring our coolers and a bunch of food and cook a bunch of hot dogs and stuff like that. And that I remember the old Milwaukee's everywhere. And another family we used to go with would bring these Rushmore Meats red hot dogs. Do you remember those, Phil?
Oh yeah.
They weren't like hot, like you think you see a red hot dog today and it's usually like a hot link or something that's spicy, but these were
Sure.
just red colored hot dogs. You buy a
Add
whole package.
extra food coloring.
I don't know what the hell they were, but
red 1, 2, 3 die in them.
but my dad never wanted to buy them. Obviously, they either had garlic in them, which he couldn't stand, or they were expensive. So one of the reasons, it always seemed like, ooh, those, I bet those are really good.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm
listen,
sure they were awful.
combining sausages and beer, you can't beat a German
Oh.
place. I've played in so
Oh,
many
no.
German places, and
This is so far removed from that. Yeah.
yeah, we played in at the Gasthaus or Gemütlichkeit so many times down there in
Which
Mario's
is no longer
Mario's
there,
room, which is
sadly.
no longer there, sadly.
Sad.
We are really bummed. We went there maybe once a year, twice a year at the most, but we
Is
really
that the
Yeah.
one that had the boot and it'd
Yes.
like spill in your face if you
Yeah,
didn't drink
John
it
and
right?
I had actually gone over there with our spouses and had
we got to
some
go there.
nice
Oh,
dinners.
I haven't been there for years, but I
Good
can't.
Yeah,
news.
and
now.
they do the at the end of the night they give you a shot of apfel corn, they called it,
Yeah,
and then
apple liqueur.
they'd offer you a hit of snuff.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
All
and they had
those
the board
things.
where they'd snap it right in your
Mhm.
nose.
And they crush
You
your
didn't-
nostril in the.
You didn't even have to inhale.
It's
It
like
just
going
was like
doing blow.
it's like a reverse mouse trap or something.
yeah, it was.
Snuff trap.
Well, the good news is that the Bavarian Hunter, which was also sold up in Stillwater, was going to be gone, but a couple from Bavaria in their 30s bought it. And
What?
from what I hear,
Really?
they're going to keep it a German place. And they got a good chef, so they're going to make it a really nice German place again, which is good for me because I sing all those beer drinking songs.
You
in
know them
German.
all. You can sing them all in German.
Yeah.
That always impresses me.
Ein Hofbräuhaus, 1, 2, Sofa. Yeah. All
Yep.
that stuff. Yeah.
Do it enough times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. How did you two meet? Well, in a band.
Oh
Well,
boy.
Do you
I'll
know?
give you the short version.
Oh, okay.
It was as usual. It's all about networking and who you know and not sucking. I guess those are the things. And I was doing some playing with a jazz group around here, and the piano player was on a job with the Jerry O'Hagan Orchestra that Kerry was playing with already, and they needed a bass sub on a job at Medina, I think was the first one.
Okay.
And I just showed up for it. I'd never met Jerry or anybody else in the band, and did it, and then I got to join the band after a short time, and got to know Kerry that way because he's great to play with.
Well,
What
yeah.
band
Well,
was
thank
that?
you. That was a Jerry O'Hagan big
Oh,
band.
right.
Yeah. The
And
dance
my
dance
first
band.
gig with him was at the Medina as well, but it was in 1998.
With
And,
Jerry, not me.
Yeah, and I had just moved to town, and just like in California in that last story, I didn't go to the Union, but I went to Schmidt Music in the Burnsville Center, which is where they used to be. And I walked up to this piano sales lady, and I said, "Hey, my name's blah blah blah. I'm new in town. I'm a professional drummer. Do you know of anybody who's looking for a drummer?" And she goes, "Well, yeah." And she starts listing all these like number one call names like Adia Shaya and Peterson and all these people. I didn't know who they were, but they were like and so I get a call the next day from Jerry O'Hagan, and he says, is this Kerry Johnson? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, would you be interested in playing with my big band at the Medina Ballroom tomorrow night? I'm like,
Tomorrow?
Well, it was close. It was like, well, maybe not the next day, but it was within a couple days. I
Well,
didn't have
no,
much
I believe
time.
you. I'm just saying, wow.
Yeah. And so I said, sure, I'd love to. So I show up, I play the gig. I think I did okay. I think I did fine. You know, I can sight read charts pretty well, you know. And then at the end of the night, he just comes up and says, thank you, and gives me my check. And that was it. You know, I'm expecting like, you know, how'd I do? You know, I didn't want to come out, act like an amateur and go, so how'd I do? You know, I mean,
Oh, hey.
so I just basically left it at that. But he hired me every gig from that point on for 22 years.
Oh my God.
So that was my beginning with Jerry O'Hagan.
But you never knew if you were really part of the band. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but he got this thing when he finally handed you the check and he said, fine job. That was his signature thing, you know, fine job, Kerry.
That was his praise.
You knew that you were in. You were in with Jerry, you know, and such a gentleman and a wonderful musician.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about him.
We miss him.
But anyway, that was my beginning. And then, of course, when John played, I was like, holy crap, who is this guy? He's so good. I mean, it was just like, he was like, he was so, certain musicians make your job easier because they're easy. They make you sound good, but they also make it so easy for you to sound good. And that's kind of the way John is, you know. I'm like I play with other bass. He has such a flow and he swings like a maniac. He's got a wonderful. They have this thing called walking the dog, which is I'm sure not a bass player's term, but you know, like it's that.
No, I'm sure somebody else came up with
that. You know, that kind of walking thing, and John just kicks it. I mean, it's so exact that it just swings, and so you know, I can't get an.
Well, you two are the rhythm section, basically, right?
Yeah, and the pianist who
that's important.
We know some really great keyboard guys.
Oh, I've met a couple of them.
You know, I'll echo what Kerry just said, that he's one of those drummers that you don't have to fight with on holding the speed and the feel and all that stuff, because it's mostly about listening, and Kerry is great about that.
Well, John,
you know, it makes it easier.
Who are some drummers you fought with recently? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, you know, drummers can be musical, believe it or not. I mean, you know, I try to, you know, when I'm playing, I think I'm listening to what, you know, rhythms people are doing, what they're, you know, what music, what they're doing musically.
Because
try not to overplay. Yeah, exactly. What else do I have to do? And also, you know, the fact about coming down, using dynamics behind vocalists, like, you know, you're playing a solo, you know, part, and then all of a sudden, the vocalist comes back in, you take it down. You're backing up the vocalist, you know, and a lot of drummers, they just keep the same, you know, they're still on 10, you know, and they're going through the vocalist. And
so
it's
boring.
Like, it's like, you know, you got to go turn your knob down from 11 down to like 4 or something, you know. Well, and dynamics makes it breathe.
I was just going to say, dynamics makes everything so much more interesting.
And that's one of the hardest things about the style of music we play, and also about like classical music, where it really makes all the difference.
Right.
And you know, I'm fortunate that I sometimes play in groups that the conductors are very fussy about that, and it's a lot harder when they are.
Yes.
But it really makes a big difference. And when I hear a really top flight orchestra play, that's also one of the first things I just noticed is how extreme the dynamic swings are between them.
Oh,
right. So that's why I'm such a big Mahler freak, because I just saw the 8th at the Orchestra Hall a couple weeks ago, and
that's the one that takes 1,000 people.
Yeah, it's the Symphony of 1,000, right? And it had the Minnesota Chorale. It had all kinds of children's choruses, and oh man, it was so. It goes from the opening, this huge, you know, triple F, you know, thing, and then there's parts of it where it goes down to like a flute. Or like 2 violins or something. And it's so just like
extreme.
Yeah, I mean, but it makes it so interesting. You know, it's not like all, you know, pedal to the metal all the way through the thing. Which
I won't be listening to Mahler in my pickup truck.
In rock bands I play in, I'm always, my pet peeve is guitar players who never use their volume pedal. It's always if they have one, it's set at 10, and the same thing. Verses are loud, choruses are loud. When the singers come in, it's still the same loud. It's
because
loud,
the
loud,
singer
loud.
should just turn up too.
Yeah,
You scream.
but anyway,
Yeah, so
I could go
that's
on
kind of how
about
we
my-
got playing in
Wait.
the same groups, and we've been doing lots of small combos and other things. It's been really fun.
Yeah, I mean, if I know of a gig I need a bass player for, I think immediately of John. I mean, it's first call. I mean, for
Me
whatever.
too.
And and then and so it's. But like he said, it's all about networking. I've been in the Twin Cities for 24
Yeah.
years now, and I finally played at the Dakota like during COVID.
That's
But
right.
there's a certain group of wonderful musicians here, and they really are great, and they get all the premier gigs. I mean, obviously, I mean,
And you've been here
either-
24 years and you haven't broken through that, I guess. No, you got to play at the Dakota, right?
yeah. I mean, I've
John
played
was at the Dakota recently. Were you at the same gig? Or was that different, John?
We did one of them at the same time.
Yeah.
I
I
have
played there
played
once.
finally for the Jazz Fest. That's a thing I never got called for, even though I knew drummers that I didn't. I mean, I hate to rank people like, oh, I'm better than him. There's always someone better than you, and there's always someone worse than you. But I think, geez, if I only knew the right people, I should be playing in this festival.
Sure.
But I have other interests, and I'm so busy playing anyway that
You have a lot going on.
yeah, I don't want to. It is what it is, and
No, it's totally fine. And
I'm always glad for musicians, whoever they are, who are good people and good musicians when they're working. I could go
and
on.
I feel like I get to play the amount I want to do, and the type of stuff I like. So
right, you can't
it's
do
all
all
good.
the gigs. I mean,
well, no, and I don't. I have a lot of respect for people who make a living doing it.
yes, which I
And
thankfully don't
it's
have to
very,
do.
yeah, I'm very thankful. I decided long ago that wasn't for me, and I got to the point in my life where I have the balance correct.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think I consider John, like, I'm not a professional musician by any means, but I consider John probably one of the most versatile bass players that I can think of. I don't know.
Well, and that's another thing. He
and
does
I'm
all
wondering,
styles.
you seem, yeah, right. But you
All
seem
styles.
to get into that a little bit too, though. I mean, you have a lot of.
Kerry is also, yeah, that's why we get along so well. 'Cause
I've played
you heard all
my
the country
share
stuff
of
he's done. and-
timpani, and orchestral stuff. I've played plenty of rock and roll. I played in funk bands. I'm currently playing with One Hit Wonders Minneapolis, which is a 9-piece horn band.
That's a cool band, yeah.
And they play all just one hits. And
Do they do safety dance though?
oh yeah, we do safety dance.
I need
Everybody
to see,
put
I
up
need
your
to see you
hands.
sometime.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We play at the Black Stack Brewery about once a month down in off of Pryor Avenue North, off of University. It's
I
past the
need to
Menards.
check it out.
Yeah, it's right above Can Wonderland. If you know where that
I've been
is.
wanting to go there too.
Yeah, so check out both of them sometime.
Yeah.
We're really booked for the summer though, so I think our next one isn't until like September because our bass player is in a pretty up and coming band, and she's booked every Friday until September. or
Well,
something
you
like
know
that.
somebody that could sub.
Well, I do, except he'd have to sing women vocal parts.
Oh,
Could you do that, John? You probably sing too, but you haven't like unveiled that.
I think there's only like 2 songs on here that I've
I try not to.
No, but
Sorry,
can
I
you?
had to move inside. It started.
John
raining.
has perfect pitch, so he can
Does he really?
Yeah. So he
John,
can
do you have
I'm
perfect
not supposed
pitch?
Oh, no, I shouldn't have said that. No, John has
I heard that I did. Yeah,
John has near pitch, perfect pitch.
I had to move inside. It's raining.
Oh,
What? John Kerry is with us today. No, Kerry Johnson. Kerry J. I guess we use your whole name. Now we're waiting for John.
You know that thing where John does this audiovisual stuff
Yeah,
for classrooms.
sure.
I remember I was
I know.
working at a school, and one of the guys had to go into the lecture hall and fix something, and we had this talkback mic from the control room, and we put this reverb on it. And when the guy was in there, and this voice says, "Hello, Stanley. This is God." he says, "You've been treating Bill awfully bad lately." You know, it was so funny. It was like,
gosh.
oh god, it was hilarious. But the guy's like, "What?" It's like this disembodied voice comes ringing over through the whole hall.
Oh,
Anyway,
there's nothing
it's
like
funny.
a little reverb. God created reverb, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over there at the burning bush.
Yeah, I mean, you can't imagine saying, I am that I am. I mean, you're not going to have some terrible, who are you? I am that I am. Like Popeye or something. You're gonna, I am that I. You have to really give it the.
Hi, I'm God. John, you're back?
I'm back. All right.
I think we should take Kerry all the way back to L.A. What did you do there? You were like a studio musician, kind of?
Part-time. I worked for a publishing company that did like audio. Well, they were kind of they did audio and video post-production, and they also had a mobile van that they drove around and did live shoots, like at SIR down in North Hollywood. Studio Instrument Rentals had a big sound stage. So I did a lot of audio editing. I did a lot of video shooting. Like we had 3 Ikegami cameras, that had the big monitors on, view monitors on the top. And I worked at various schools doing, video shoots of lectures and guests. We did this one forum where this professor was interviewing people from all over the different during the Afghanistan war. They were interviewing Mujahideen who had been there, and what else? Things like ex-KGB guys from Bulgaria, and I mean, just weird, people they were interviewing. And so
wow.
I did
regular
textbooks.
Hollywood Squares.
Yeah. Yes. So, just a lot of between music and that. And then I was in a house band called Grand Old Vienna, which played just European music in San Gabriel, California, which was near Santa Anita Raceway. And we played.
Is that the one where the band leader smuggled a bass back from Vienna?
No, that was Santa Barbara. That was that Dave Davidson
same
guy.
Yeah. Who somehow brought it back from during the war.
Yeah, he patted his string bass, and he says, "Kerry, guess where I got this?" And I said, "I can't begin to guess." He goes, "I got it at the Vienna Opera House." And I said, "Vienna Opera House?"
What?
He says, "Yeah." I says, "When our company went through Vienna, I just went in there and took it and crated it up and shipped it to New York. The spoils of war." And I'm thinking, this thing probably played for Mahler and Strauss and all kinds of people. I mean, it had to be.
I can't
how much
believe it
do you
made
think
it
it would have been
back.
worth? Worth, John. How much would that have been worth?
I mean, something that old.
At least $7.
$80,000.
Oh, at least. Yeah, it depends. But
and he was gigging with it, John. He's gigging with it. This is the thing he's putting in the back of a Ford Pinto,
which might have exploded at that age.
It, yeah,
which is like worth a lot more than a Ford Pinto itself. Anyway, yeah, it was crazy, but yeah. So where was I? California,
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
So,
yeah,
and then you met Brian Wilson, and
I got to serve hors d'oeuvres to Tom Selleck.
Hey.
And I worked for a catering company that did the Oscars and the Emmys and the 84 Olympics.
What?
Yeah.
What haven't you done? Well, maybe we should start there.
Oh, I did roofing for a while. That movie, the latest movie about the Manson thing up in the hills.
Yeah.
That latest movie.
Oh,
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If you met Manson.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
That scene where is it Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
Is up on the roof and he's looking out over LA. I lived that scene so many times because back in the 80s they were replacing shake roofs with tile or asbestos.
It's pronounced
shingles.
chic. No, sorry.
Le chic.
Well, because of the fires. I mean, they had these horrible fires up there. So many days I'd be, putting these.
And then you were a
up.
Stuntman.
And then I drove an old car and I was a stunt. No, I wasn't a stunt.
I drove a Pinto backwards. So you dealt with asbestos and you've lived to collect Social Security.
I guess they're really not. They're not really. They were shingles. I don't know what they were made of, but
yeah. If anybody has had asbestos shingles, I don't know if there's a shot for that, but
Oh God.
Shingles.
But we used to have these, back in those days. I don't know if they still do it. We'd get a truck and we'd drive down to Cahuenga Boulevard, and there'd be 4 or 5 Mexican guys standing there. We go, you, and you, jump in the truck, and they'd jump in, and we'd take off to a site, and they would. We knew they were roofers because that's the corner where the roofers would hang out, right?
That was the roofer corner.
The roofer corner, and these guys worked their butts off. I mean, they
Oh,
worked
yeah.
so
Sounds
hard.
Such hard work.
Like, we got there
In
at
the heat?
Yeah. Oh, you could, on some of these stone roofs we did, rock roofs, on the vents, you literally could fry an egg on those things.
Oh, God.
I mean, it was so hot. And these guys would be there from morning to night. And then at sundown, I'm getting off the roof and I'm, cleaning up and getting to my car. And this guy, Manuel, is there, and he's changing into a white shirt, and he's, putting water on his face and combing his hair. I'm like, where are you going? He goes, oh, to my next job. I mean, he said, your next job?
Oh, my
He
God.
says, yeah, I work at the restaurant till midnight. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, man. I mean, and people who say that Mexican folks are lazy, are you kidding me?
No.
They could work you under the table. And they really
still
irks
serve
me.
you.
Exactly. And it really irks me when people go off on immigrants as being lazy. Oh,
Yeah.
my God. Yeah, they haven't
that's
really seen,
That's
but anyway,
that's one of the dumbest tropes ever.
Dumbest, yeah, absolutely. But I got to tell you one thing. When I was with Grand Ole Vienna, we were playing at a place called Black Forest Inn, and it was the owner just would pound down Jägermeisters constantly all night, at the bar. That was my introduction to Jägermeister, by the way. But one night we're playing there, and it's right near the airport, near Century Boulevard. So we're playing the music, and it's getting around 1 a.m. And about 1:45, these 3 gorgeous blonde women walk in, and I'm like 25 at the time, something like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to talk to them before they leave, right? So I'm like thinking, come on, stay. So they stay, and I go over and I say, I introduce myself, and they go, so where are you from? And to them, and they go, oh, we're from Poland. I said, Poland? Wow. And what are you doing over here? Oh, we just came over to the United States, and we're from Gdansk. And I said, Gdansk, where's that? Oh, it's a seaport. And says, listen, I want to tell you a secret. It's going to come out in the LA Times probably tomorrow and the next day, but we're doing a big strike at the shipyard in Gdansk, and our leader, Lech Walesa, has started a movement called Solidarność.
Wow.
Solidarity. So I'm like, holy crap. So like 2 days later, LA Times headline, Solidarity, Poland shipyard shuts down, Lech Walesa, that was the beginning of the Solidarity movement, which was so cool. I actually was on the inside scoop of that.
I didn't know about the 3 blonde connection, though.
You should have been a reporter or something.
I know. I should have run to the LA Times a day ahead of time for the scoop. Anyway,
I got a big scoop from 3 blondes.
Yeah. 3 blondes in a bar.
Polish blondes, and they
sounds like the beginning of a joke. And the 3 blondes in a bar. Yeah,
Jägermeister. Our friend of the show, Lee H. I remember his Jägermeister story when he first discovered it.
Was it a story?
No.
Okay.
I just remember the first time he had Jägermeister.
I actually like it. People go, it tastes like licorice. I'm like, well,
no. His comment was that it affects a different part of my body each time I take a sip.
Oh my God. Well, I used to play with these at the gas house here at Buclicite. You could get 3 bourbon glasses full of Jägermeister each night. And one of the guys who's older, he was really quite a bit older. I won't mention his name, but he pounded down a few too many of these things, and he lived in Afton. So he had to drive all the way to Afton and he's on the freeway, and he is kind of passes out and goes under a road, like a highway sign, and takes out one of the legs and just like blam right through the thing.
Oh no.
Doesn't hurt himself, but just keeps driving, and then he's like, oh God, I hit something,
That woke him up a little bit.
He gets home and he drives his car in his garage and shuts the door, right? So the next morning, cops show up. I don't know how security camera or whatever. I don't know how they knew it was him, but he had to pay for the sign and everything. But they didn't charge him with drunk driving because they couldn't prove it. It was out of the system by then, and you didn't stop.
Oh wow!
Which is probably a smart thing to do. I mean,
but
sometimes when you try to obey the law, and then you get killed. It's not very good.
He only had to pay for one leg.
Sometimes when you obey the law, you get killed.
Yeah, talk to Other people, I won't mention any names, but yeah. Um,
That's the title. I won't mention any names.
Maybe that's the name of this
yeah,
episode.
he had to buy the whole dang highway sign.
Yeah, how much does a highway sign cost?
Well, I didn't ask him.
See, that's what I want
didn't
to know.
I think
probe into
you
that
should have
one.
negotiated and said, "Listen, I only took out a leg."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like what, $17 at Menards? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Highway sign leg, $17 each.
Sure.
At Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
Oh, I remember that voiceover guy. Well, he wasn't just a voiceover. He was the...
I heard he was a total jerk.
Oh, what, really?
Oh, the original Menards man?
Yeah, like
Oh,
a
he
friend of
seems
mine.
so nice.
I know, but a friend of mine recorded him in a studio here in town. She said the guy thought he was God's gift to the universe. He was really arrogant. And
Oh, no.
He just pissed everybody off. And it's like, you're just the Menards guy, dude.
Yeah.
Somehow
Get too
that
full
went
of
to his
yourself.
head.
Yeah, it went totally to his head, evidently.
Oh,
That's what I heard. Now, if he's listening
he's
and he gets
dead.
pissed off. Oh, is he dead now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he is
we
dead.
could say whatever we want about it, but
All
his
right,
family
good.
might listen, but probably not.
But yeah, I heard he was kind of not a really easy guy to like.
If anyone in the Menards voice guy family is listening, you get 11% off on our
11%.
on our
Those
Patreon.
bullshit rebates. Oh,
Oh, my wife.
those
my
things
wife,
are so
Jody,
stupid.
I know, but I collect them and I send them in religiously. And
Yeah, and you mail them to Elk Mound, Wisconsin.
My wife Jody gives me guff about that. I usually have about
They're
4
like
or
the
5 sitting around.
last outfit that still does mail-in rebates, don't they?
Yeah.
So
But
Almost
the thing is, though,
nobody
if you're
does
buying
that.
construction material in bulk, like
Oh,
my
yeah,
son
yeah.
does, that 11% does help them. So I know
Yeah.
he
No,
gets that.
No,
I
it's
have
worth
like
jumping
one
through
for
hoops,
$2 and one for $5 and one, but it
then
adds
they
up.
expire though too. That's the other thing.
Right.
I
yeah.
still send them in though, and then a
Did
few months
Norwood-
later, I don't know, you get $3, whatever.
Norwood, Little America is another place where those rebates come out of. Do you ever notice
Young
that?
America, I think.
Young America.
Little
Norwood,
America is
Young America.
is the name of a
He was
a truck stop in Little America is a truck stop in Cheyenne,
Yes, I'm
Wyoming.
sorry. I got the truck stop mixed up with that.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
And now we're in Taliban America. No, sorry.
You don't. Glenda M would know.
Glenda?
What happened?
She's not on right now. We do edit these, by the way. So
Did you
Well,
want to
yeah.
know any more? So after LA, yeah, I don't know.
well,
Montana,
what's
then Minnesota.
what's your favorite like Jerry O'Hagan? You guys did the Michigan, the Yuppie stuff.
We used to go up to the Mackinac Grand Hotel every year for 9 years. We played that gig, and it was a ballroom dancing weekend. And the whole band would go up with our spouses, and for a week, full weekend. And we wore tuxes all the time. They fed us and put us up at the hotel, and it was really an experience. Then recently during COVID, they were bought out by some hospitality conglomerate, and then they decided that ballroom dancing was passé. So they hired some band from Chicago, and we're no longer going up there, which is a pain in the butt. But
That's ridiculous.
We had a good run, 9 years.
I have a funny feeling you'll come back, or at least the ballroom dancing will, because you had a lot of people would come there for that every year. That was
the except the ballroom
closing
dancers never get pissed off and write letters to anybody.
Yeah.
They just kind of recede meekly into the background. Believe it or not.
Find some other ballroom.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, if you really like the program, write to them about it. I guess that's true of anything. The loudest, squeakiest wheel gets the.
So what
grease,
kind
as
of
they
band
say.
do they have there now?
It's like a 5-piece band from Chicago. I don't know what kind of music they play. Do you know, John? It's I think still do dance, but it's more like disco and hustle and rock and stuff like that.
Whatever. That doesn't fit the
No,
it doesn't fit it doesn't fit the hotel.
The atmosphere. No, it's like going into an Italian restaurant and hearing Jay-Z, or some rapping over the thing. That's one of my pet peeves. You go to a Mediterranean restaurant and you hear, you're going to hear Glenn Campbell or Willie Nelson. I mean, come on, people, make the music
guys.
match the venue. I mean,
Well,
really,
okay,
it's not that hard.
But in the Mediterranean, there are people that like Glen Campbell. I'll get that.
Well,
But if you go to the
probably.
restaurant, you want it to fit it.
Exactly. Like if I go to, and there's like Ciati's, or not Ciati's, but like Chianti Grilled, they have nice, you got to play at least Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra at least,
Come
something
on.
like that. Or maybe some just, real Italian
Bobby
music.
Darin?
Bobby Darin, was he
Oh,
Italian?
yeah, Caruso or
Okay.
something.
Or Mario Lanza or someone like that, I don't know. I'm old fashioned when it comes to music and dining.
We were just talking about the John dropped out for a little bit due to technical difficulties, but he's back. But we were just talking about the Upper Peninsula stuff.
Oh, yeah, like our Mackinac Island glory days.
Yeah. I don't know, like a Jerry O'Hagan story that has to do with that, but
or any story, yeah. Well, I mean, he was an icon around here. I'm.
Well, yeah, he was. Yeah, Jules Herman started a big band here in the 60s, and he was played for the Lawrence Welk band, and he evidently had an affair with one of the Champagne ladies, and they were kicked out, and they came to Minneapolis, and then he got a gig at the Prom Ballroom that was regular, and Jerry became his first clarinet chair player, and then when Jules passed away, Jerry split off and formed his own big band. And so I guess that's the long and short of it.
And
but
he had like champagne ladies every night.
Oh yeah, I mean, and this place, I think Minnesota has the largest per capita for big bands of any state in the union except California. There are more big bands in Minnesota than anywhere else.
Yeah,
I mean,
really?
Just yeah. I mean, I can name a dozen right now that are just in the Twin Cities.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Jerry also, he also had this weird second career as an electric guitar maker.
He made O'Hagan guitars, which Prince actually had pieces of those, which he made into his famous, versions of guitars.
What?
Sammy
Hagar.
Yeah. Sammy Hagar loved them. And there was a whole cult following for O'Hagan guitars, because I remember being at the Medina and young kids would come up with their O'Hagan guitar and ask Jerry to sign it. Yeah, absolutely. It was in Hopkins. He had a whole factory. He had a lot of Hmong employees. And they, he had a paint room where they sprayed the bodies, and he bought really good heavy duty parts and lugs and only the best electronics. And then in the Reagan era, Reagan devalued the dollar or something. And right when Jerry was launching into Europe, and he went kind of screwy, the finances got messed up, and then the bank didn't approve his loan. So
they took him out of business. I think this was at a time when, and Jerry's company was focused on making kind of high quality American made instruments at a time when the big guitar makers like Fender and others were heavy into
cheap crap.
Yeah, they were making
in
stuff in Mexico and Asia.
Nothing against Mexicans.
Yeah, and of course the funny part is that the people really love the Japanese made Fenders now. But at the time it was a big deal to still make stuff in the United States.
Yeah, but Jerry made these, the first wedge guitar. He had like wedge guitars and flying, those really cool looking.
Yeah, those 80s kind of. But I remember being ones. Yeah,
I remember being on the internet in some chat thing about music, and one guy was like, I have an O'Hagan guitar, and I mean, is Jerry O'Hagan still alive? I mean, does anybody even know where he is? I mean, this guy, and I'm like, I'm gigging with him like twice a month, and he's still alive. He's in Minneapolis. Are you kidding me?
It's like, this weird thing that he just moved on and did something else.
And he would never tell anyone about it. He was so humble about stuff, oh, you're Jerry O'Hagan? Oh yeah, he's just like, he was kind of famous in the cult guitar world.
Actually, now that you mention it, I didn't make the connection, but I do remember hearing about O'Hagan guitars. I didn't think it was the same O'Hagan. I haven't heard of
it. Google it. I mean, look it up. It's on the internet.
We'll put
people that still link. Collect them.
We'll put a link to an article in the show notes.
I didn't make the connection. I just full disclosure, I do have a Mexican Fender, but that's fine.
I have a Japanese electric bass too. So
but
that I bought in the 80s. So
I'm told that, I don't know, my guitar guy. I'm told this is a good electric guitar. I had it in a closet for many, many, many years, and we all know we shouldn't stay in the closet. So,
Well, I before I forget, I wanted to bring it back to libations, alcoholic libations for a
Yes,
second.
please.
I actually was able to make a dad joke with the cashier at Lakeville Liquors the other day because Pat sent me in for some gin and tonic, water. So I brought it in, and she goes, "Yeah, did you find everything you want?" Yeah, I found it. So I gave her those little 6-packs with the little cans of tonic water. It was
Yeah.
diet tonic. I said, "Can you weigh this?" And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, how are you going to know how much it weighs if you don't put it on the diet tonic scale?"
Oh, ow.
And she looked at me like, "What?"
yeah,
And I said,
That's-
it's a musical term. And then she laughed, right? It was just like, okay.
Yeah, it's a dad.
that's a
Plus,
musical dad joke.
It
Yeah,
is.
it was a
Dad
tonic
plus.
Wow.
Now, whenever I buy
Diet
diet
tonic.
tonic, I always think of the diet tonic scale. Isn't that horrible? What exactly is the diet tonic scale, John? Explain that.
Oh, that's a
wow.
good
You
question.
took theory, didn't you?
Yeah, I've forgotten it all though.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what it is. I just remember the term, like Jeopardy, from one of those Jeopardy things. I'll take musical terms for 600. It's a blah blah blah. Diatonic. What is diatonic?
Well, it's our conventional,
The da 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 da.
yeah, the one that we all know that's got
Okay.
the right number of intervals in it,
And all the right sharps and flats and all that.
yeah, that's
Okay.
that's our
So it's your
Western music,
Western scale.
or Western European to be exact, tonal scale. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like any.
I don't know why it's
it's
called
like
that,
any
though.
heptonic scale that includes 5 whole steps, really, or whole tones and 2 half steps, some semitones, and then in each octave. I mean, come on.
Or the Schoenberg 12-tone scale.
And
Yeah,
in which
Phil, tell us about 12 tone.
well, I mean, in which the 2 half steps are separated from each other by either 2 or 3 whole steps, depending on their position on the scale.
You're just reading Wikipedia.
Is he reading Wikipedia? Yes, he is. Well, I remember a story where Mahler went to see a Schoenberg concert, and he was fairly new in Vienna, and
This is also
and people were like
two guys
booing.
went to a Mahler concert. And
They were booing. They were hissing and booing. Your music sucks. It stinks. Blah, blah, blah. And Mahler stands up. He's up in the front. Turns around, and goes, "You guys be quiet. This guy deserves to have someone listen to his music." And they go, "Sit down. We hate your music too. It sucks." So basically,
what a critic.
yeah, I know. So that was the end of that. But I have never really actually listened to Schoenberg and a song done in the 12-tone. Is it 12-tone scale?
Yeah, that was his famous. Oh, he did conventional.
Oh, he did conventional music as well.
His early career, yeah.
It never really took off, did it? The 12-tone thing.
Well, yeah, not really, because it's one of those things you have to really know what's going on to appreciate it. Otherwise, it sounds just like random crap.
Right.
And
And
it's
who
hard.
really-
It's like parts of certain types of jazz too, in a way.
Right. Only the ultimate jazzers know what they're doing, and they like it.
Yeah. You have to really understand the theory, and you have to understand what Schoenberg's doing.
It's like Pat said, some of this improv, really wild improv jazz is kind of like masturbation. They're just doing it for their own pleasure. No one else cares. No one else knows what's going on. I thought, oh God, that's harsh, but yeah, it's kind of true too.
There's an element of truth to that.
Well, what's your? You play all kinds of different types of music, but what's your favorite music to play?
Who, me?
Genre, yeah.
Oh, John.
No, genre. Your
genre. Oh, I thought you were saying John.
Kerry Johnson genre.
Genre. My favorite type to play? Oh boy.
If you have one, is that impossible?
It's kind of like saying which one of your kids is your favorite. I mean, they're all at certain times. I get, like Montessori method. You have these what they call sensitive periods where, like, I'll be totally into jazz for like months, and then all of a sudden it's like, nah, I'm gonna just play straight up rock and roll. And this four beat, 4/4 time stuff, and then or I'm just gonna do drum corps stuff, or I'm gonna play funk or whatever, I don't have much opportunity to do symphonic music anymore unless I auditioned for something that John plays for, like the Metropolitan or something like that.
Yeah.
But community bands, I love band music. I love marching music. I do 18th century rope tension drum cadences and stuff.
What is that?
Well, I'm part of a
I'd like to know,
reenactment
too.
group that does 18th century stuff. So
Yeah.
the old marching drums of 1776, like in the famous painting, they were tensioned by ropes that just wound up and down from the top head to the bottom head, and the heads were raw calf skin, and you would have this leather tab that you push down on the ropes that made them pull the heads together, and make them tight. And yeah, I'm going to be playing that July 4th down at the Wayzata Depot as part of our camp. We fire off muskets and stuff like that.
Is that like the band that would go out with the troops or something?
Oh,
Or-
absolutely. I mean, drumming and fifing was totally an element of the battle. I mean, I have commands for shoot, for retreat, for take arms, about face, to left wheel, everything they did had a corresponding drum beat because of
for
all the
Pete's
roar of the
sake.
muskets and the cannons. You just couldn't hear anything but a lot of drums, beating.
Oh, I just thought it
And-
was for morale or something like
hell no.
a
No, it was
soundtrack
actually
on a.
Or like bagpipes, where you just want to scare the enemy.
Yeah, and even bagpipes had calls that were utilitarian.
What's
I didn't know that.
What's the drum pattern for Runaway?
It's really funky. I mean, you don't ever want to hear the fife music for retreat because it sounds like, it sounds like that.
It's
It's really embarrassing.
The Looney Tunes soundtrack.
Yeah. But I can't remember
It's
it
like
right
shaving a
now. But
haircut, yeah.
it's funky. It's really like you don't ever want to hear that music. But
Well,
you
right.
know, there's drum things for everything from like time to pick up to collect firewood, time for dinner, time for this or that. And
What?
oh yeah, it's a big deal.
Time to relieve your
And-
bowels.
Yeah, and the
time to
musicians
lean. There's one.
or time to lean. We'll have to figure out that drum cadence.
But
But the musicians wore opposite color coats. So if you were in the British Army and they were wearing red with yellow facings, then the drummers would be yellow with red facings. They were exactly the opposite. So it was to set them apart from the fighting people, even though they got blown up and shot as much as anybody else.
well, sure, and maybe first if they weren't playing well. But
Right, but it was considered really ungentlemanly to blow up an enemy's musicians. It's just like sometimes they carried sabers or daggers or something, but they didn't really have anything to protect themselves.
A
So,
drumstick.
and they were usually
hold
young.
up their drums. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's why
That's
I love
cool.
Barry Lyndon, the music from Barry Lyndon, because it has the Kubrick.
So authentic the way.
Yeah,
they did
it was
that.
so authentic, and the photography, the cinematography was just outstanding.
I'm so embarrassed. I'm a Kubrick fan, but I still haven't seen that movie.
And it's so outside his usual genre too. I mean, it's so unusual. When I found out he directed that, I'm like, really?
well, I remember. I remember.
Space Odyssey guy.
I remember reading about it in film class, and he had to develop a special camera so he could film by camera light or whatever. Or I mean, candlelight.
Yeah.
Yeah, camera light.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wanted to use
Crazy.
natural light in those nighttime indoor scenes.
Oh,
Yeah, it was outstanding.
yeah. The
Another
cameras
really
just
good
weren't fast enough.
movie of that era was Waterloo with Rod Steiger as Napoleon.
Is that one
I
good?
Oh my gosh!
Really?
It's
I've never seen it.
fantastic. They filmed it over on location, like over there, and this is a
Over
time
there.
before you could make digital people, and crowds and stuff. I mean, they had probably tens of thousands of extras in this dang thing. Anyway, check it out. That's really amazing too. I think the music was good in that as well.
Huh. Rod
Anyway.
Steiger. Huh.
Yeah, as a movie guy, you'd love it.
He plays
Yeah, I've heard of the
Napoleon?
movie. I've just never gotten to see it.
Yeah,
So I will put that on my list.
yeah. So,
You also
John,
so you also like movies too. Well, what what's like when you're what are some of your, you never mind. Go
my
ahead.
favorite movie, I think, of all time is one of my favorite movies, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this in one way, but
My Little Mermaid.
Pollyanna by Disney with
That's
Haley
because
Mills.
you had a thing for Haley
Not
Mills.
just because I had a thing for Haley Mills. Everybody had a thing for Haley Mills. But the music, the photography, the way that whole movie was put together was the scripting. If you listen to the music on that and how it's cued to the action, it is so exact and perfect. I'm just
I have
astounded every
heard
time I watch
that's
it.
a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that, and then a one called A Box of Moonlight. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's not very well known, but
No.
Sam Rockwell. It was one of his very first movies with John
Okay.
Turturro. John Turturro and Sam Rockwell.
What?
Yeah. Oh, you gotta see it. It's called Box of Moonlight.
Duh.
Wow.
And
Why
I
don't
won't tell
know-
you very much, except in general, it's about John Turturro plays this really uptight, anal, retentive construction guy who's on a remote location working on a construction project and he lives at a hotel with his crew, and he runs into Sam Rockwell, who's this off the grid hippie guy, and the two of them, fate puts them together where they have to be together, and just the way they play off each other and how opposite their personalities are, and how it's just it has some other really famous actress in it too. I can't remember her name, but anyway, it's worth checking out. And I've watched it so many times that I've even heard the director's commentary on it.
Oh, okay. I'll
Yeah.
put that on the list too.
We'll keep a lookout for that.
That's kind of like the buddy cop version of construction films. No?
Well, those two are both great character actors.
Oh, yeah. I never knew they worked together. How did I? How have I heard of this?
Any movie they're in, I'll watch it. I mean, even the Evidence, that latest thing, is it called Evidence? Has John Turturro in it. Isn't that the thing you tuned me into, John? It's that Ben Stiller produced that.
Severance.
Severance, that's the name of it.
Yeah,
Turturro's in that too.
Yep, and Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of neat.
Oh, yeah, that TV series.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I know. I need to put that on the list too. I'll get to it eventually in the next couple decades.
Yeah, we often do a what are we watching? Whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are cool. And because of the Haley Mills thing, I just listened to the audiobook of her latest and only autobiography, which is outstanding anyway, because it really covers the era of American, the Disney years, but also her dad and people she worked with worked in British film in the 50s, like from the 54 to 64.
Okay.
There was a very strong kind of film noir type of British home movie, groups that were making these movies, which John Mills and his buddies were either directing, producing, or acting in. And Haley Mills acted in quite a few of them. And her mother even wrote some of the screenplays or the actual scripts for some of them.
Wow.
And then they're really good. Like she's mentioning them in this book, and I'm writing these things down because I go out and believe it or not, they're available on Hulu or somewhere. And I've been having a blast watching these things.
Cool.
They're after World War II. It was the movie industry in Britain, for the next decade.
They kind of rebuilt their industry after the war and produced a lot of interesting things that were in a lot of ways different from what the American film industry was doing.
Yeah, and very interesting stories. Like I like to say, it's all about the story, stupid. Don't worry about the special effects, because like Godzilla, the first one was a special effects masterpiece, but the story sucked. I mean, it's like you get through the movie, it's like, oh, are you kidding me? Okay, I saw all this great stuff, but what did I remember from it? It had no story at all. So the British really, British focus on that because I think they're more play oriented, like performance on stages.
Sure.
And anyway, that's my theory.
There's a lot of good stuff, and there's more stuff available now than there has ever been before, really, that we can all get access to.
And there were these two brothers named Bowling brothers, Roy and they were twin brothers, and they literally, were in charge of all of the main, movement. And Haley Mills ended up marrying one of the brothers, and he was old enough to be her father.
Yeah.
And they had a son together, and then they divorced at some point. But
the boy boiling.
Yeah, his name Roy Bowling. Have you ever heard of them, John? The
No, I don't
Bowling Brothers.
Yeah, I have.
It's Boehling. I think.
I bet I just am forgetting.
But yeah, they're worth reading about. But anyway, but John is amazing because like he should work for TCM. I'm serious. He needs to be one of those guys that, oh yeah, so and so was in. He's like a walking IMDb database about every actor, every
boring people
scenario,
lathering on.
It's like, did you know another version of that movie was made in 1948 and it had starred these people, and then they redid it in 1968, and these people were involved in it, and I'm like, sheesh.
But having you on here, you've mentioned things that we've never talked about on here before, so that's nice.
Yeah, it's because it just reading is a big part of it. I mean, I never would have been in touch with that if I hadn't read that book. So
Haley Mills' story.
It's all about and she's still alive. She's like 78, 80, something like that, still performing.
That's really cool.
Still doing her thing. I'm going to write her a fan letter. I absolutely have to get a signed 8x10 glossy of her at some point before she goes. For heaven's sake.
What were some other movies she was in? Because I remember seeing a lot of Disney movies when I was younger, but I don't remember her name.
Who?
Oh, there's the Parent
Haley
Trap,
Mills.
of course.
Parent Trap.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
fantasy
one.
Yeah.
That darn cat. She did that.
Yeah, I know who it is now.
Cat.
Okay.
The Herbie was she in the Herbie ones too?
I don't think she was.
No, Kevin.
I remember the Herbie
Dean
movies.
Jones is the
Dean
one that
Jones
was in.
did all those.
We always, my brother and I used to joke about how we were going to have a Dean Jones film festival where we just watch all the Dean Jones movies.
My God.
That would be so awful.
We should do that.
Actually, the original Love Bug movie is pretty fun.
Oh, I remember enjoying it.
With Buddy Hackett.
I was like 7 or
and
something.
and the dad from Mary Poppins, David Tomlinson,
Right,
who plays the villain. Yeah.
Well, some of the English ones that Haley Mills was in was Tiger Bay, which was a really good movie from 1959, and then she did A Whistle in the Wind. That was like 61, and it was a screenplay written by her mother that had to do with these kids that find this bum in a barn, and they think he's Jesus come again. And because they learned about it in Bible school, that he was going to be back, and he looked like Jesus, and so they were like, so there's this whole story about that, which is evidently really fun.
Oh, bomb! I thought you said bomb.
That sounds great.
The Family Way was another British film that she was in.
Did you ever get around to seeing the one you mentioned to me was Brighton Rock?
Yeah, no, I never got around to seeing Brighton Rock.
With David
Richard
Attenborough, not David.
Richard Attenborough, right.
Yeah.
No, I never got around to seeing that. That's one we have to make an appointment at John's video movie cave.
Yes, you got to come watch that. That's
movie.
Where Richard Attenborough plays a thug.
Exactly.
In 1950s Britain.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll have to set up a movie night at John's.
Well, I'll do that.
Movie night at John's.
You've seen his man cave, right? With a giant screen, and he has like a million movies on
Phil
a server.
has the screen just as big.
With all of the artwork. He's got all the artwork and all the movies. It's like, holy crap, you're bigger than AMC,
I don't have a
Carmike Theater.
Machine.
I think you have a better, whatever it is, refreshing rate or something on your screen. It's not, whatever.
I've got better whiskey.
LCD, LED. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I have an OLED. Yes.
Okay, this guy's name, I'm sorry, I looked it up. His name's Roy Bolting, Boulting. He was a film director, and he had a twin brother, too. But look him up.
And
it's really interesting.
They formed a donut chain. No.
Oh, that's the Mr. Donut twins.
That was our last episode.
No, wait, they were brother-in-laws. They were Siamese brother-in-laws.
That's right.
They were Siamese brother-in-law twins.
I'm sorry I brought that up.
No, that's terrible. No, they don't say that anymore. They say conjoined. Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Whoops.
We just canceled ourselves.
It was Roy and John Bolting were the two guys.
And they both were married to Haley Mills.
No, just one.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Both.
I don't mean at the same time necessarily. I don't judge. Well, all right. I have a funny feeling we should have Kerry back on again, John. He's got a lot of stories, I'm sure.
I got
a just scratched the surface.
I got a million of them. You were talking about band stories, so I've got a lot of those in the hopper. If you ever want to do a thing on gig stories.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to go back and edit people's names out, but it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can not use names,
kidding.
you know, but
No.
some of them are pretty amazing.
Would you
I
come
could
back
write a
on?
book. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
this was
great.
fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and you have the best sounding microphone of any of our guests.
Really, this is an SM7.
No, he has a real podcasting mic. No,
Yeah, it's nice.
He has a
Well,
good radio
you know,
voice.
Now the next thing is we have to try to figure out what to do with the song.
Well, my celebrity collaborator was Ron Strikert from Men at Work.
That's
wow.
right. I remember that.
He lived
You
in
told me about
Montana. He
him.
still lives in Montana, but
What?
yeah, I ran into him and we got to be friends. I was doing a gig and he comes up. Oh, yeah, hey, I'm a musician too. You know, he's from Australia. Oh, you're pretty good you're good on drums. I mean, would you like to come to my place and we
my
can
flat.
my flat? You know, ring me up at my flat.
His
No,
ranch.
that's English. So anyway, I show up at his place, and downstairs are all his gold records, including Down Under, which
Yeah.
he co-wrote with what's his name now? I can't
That
remember.
other guy.
Colin.
Colin Hay. And so anyway, he's got a million guitars and he has a drum set. And we just would collaborate on stuff. Like he'd say, "Okay, I'm going to play this rhythm here, and you do this and that." And we worked up some really cool stuff, but we never finalized anything. It was
Yeah.
like, oh shoot! And I think he's still up there. As a matter of fact, I should reconnect with him because he's a cool guy. I went out and looked him. He's the skinny guitar player. He's the lead guitarist, and
Right.
he kicks off some amazing. I mean, if you see some YouTube concert video of them, he's really good. He's a killer guitar player.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You just never know.
And then he married a gal who was a fundamentalist, religious kind of nut, and said that rock and roll was of the devil. So he stopped writing for quite a while.
Oh,
And now he's back on the track.
sure.
Back on track. So
So
Yeah,
thanks,
well,
Carrie.
thanks, you guys.
Thanks
this
for
was
being
a lot
on
of
here.
fun. Yeah.
We'll have you on again someday.
Here's the song!
After his day of rest, God wiped some crumbs off his chest. He was a little hard pressed to think what he should do next. He smoked a little herb, then on the 8th day, God created reverb. It isn't easy being God. You can never go abroad, and you created something so flawed. Who creates murder, sloth, and mail fraud? And they think that you are odd when you sing your reverb to ballad. The day after his day of rest, he sipped a beer and he got dressed. His hair was all a mess. On second thought, that might be best. He summoned his prodigal son, who the people had taken to calling Satan. He said, "Samuel, what the hell is going on? I need to tell them they're getting it all wrong."
Hello, my children. This is your father. I did not create you to be cannon fodder. Something got lost in the translation. The train derailed at the station. It got sidetracked at the creation of the crustacean. There were issues with the dictation and an unhealthy fixation with damnation.
Satan took a look around. All the cats were digging that sound. The reverb rumbled the ground. Dolby surround to astound. This was how we'd be renowned. And he sang these words with reverb profound.
mighty be Satan. You say I'm the evil one. God banished you from the garden, yes it did. And I just wanted you to have fun.